Hello, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Exploring the new Jeanne Clery Self-Assessment Tool for Campus Multidisciplinary Teams. Today, we'll introduce the new digital version of the self-assessment tool, which is available exclusively to members of the Collaborative. The Collaborative is a team-based learning membership program that brings together colleges and universities to build cost-effective, customized, and sustainable approaches to campus safety and Clery Act compliance. This tool, like most of the offerings in the program, was developed from feedback from our members. My name is Bethany Lamlinera, Member Services Manager at the Clery Center. I'm joined today by my colleague Samantha Cook, Director of Strategic Initiatives. You'll notice that there's a questions pane on your control panel, and we encourage you to interact with us by typing in questions and comments there throughout the webinar. Our main goal today is to introduce you to the new tool and explore how it can be most helpful for your institution. So please don't hesitate to ask questions at any time. So with that, Sam, would you like to get started?
Thanks, Bethany. So we're really excited today to talk with you, as Bethany mentioned, about our brand new version of our self-assessment tool. It's a project that, as many of you know, we launched in 2013 at the request of our members and as a key feature of the collaborative program. And we're so excited to share with you the version 2, new and improved, of this tool. And we really think it can make an absolute difference in how your campus teams work together to build better systems for Clery Act compliance. So I'm going to start, really the purpose of today is to show you in action what this tool looks like. If you are a member of the collaborative, you know that last week you should have received a print companion guide in the mail, and that's something we'll walk through as well. There's a digital version of that that's available to members. So I'm just going to show my screen really quickly, and you guys should see our lovely website and home screen. So for members, there's a panel right at the top that says member login. And when you go to that and enter in your credentials, what you end up going into is a members only section. And so when I click on my account, I'm able to access a number of different tools and opportunities, including our member resource library. The very first thing that you'll see when you get to your home screen is actually an article that features the fact that our new self-assessment tool is now available. And you'll see that right down here. So when I go to that article, I'm going to take a look. It really includes everything that you'll need as a member to access the tool and get started. So as I mentioned, we had the opportunity to revisit this tool at the end of last year when the final regulations of the Violence Against Women Act amendments to the Clery Act were released by the Department of Education. And at the member services team, we sort of had a discussion of, do we just update the content of the tool that currently exists, or do we really take this as an opportunity to create a brand new framework that really makes the tool a lot more functional and user-friendly? And so we chose the latter. So really excited to launch and share with you a tool that not only includes updates to the law that were released by the Department of Education and finalized, but also one that hopefully allows you to come up with a really concrete game plan and assess and evaluate the things that your campus is currently doing, as well as the pieces that you'd like to change moving forward. So when you're in this system, you can click. You'll notice there's links to the digital tool. You'll also notice that there is a link to the PDF copy of that print companion guide that was mailed out to all of our members. So what that looks like is this PDF right here. It's really meant to be a comprehensive assistance guide as you go through the online tool that we'll look at in just a moment. And what you'll notice is that the tool itself is divided into a number of common areas related to Clery compliance. So first up, we have geography. We have a whole section on collecting crime statistics, so looking at things like campus security authorities, working with local law enforcement, all the way down to on-campus housing requirements, and prevention and response pieces. As I mentioned, each of these sections will have within it a number of different features. And so among them are sort of these new types of questions. In the first version of the tool that we developed in 2013, we really just had a basic framework of one type of question and one type of checklist. And it was a great start, but what we really thought about this time around was looking at the difference between checklist types questions and process-based evaluation questions. And so in this new tool, what you'll notice is not only that the print companion guide has a number of resources that you can use as you're evaluating your own processes, questions to consider, definitions and terms, references to the actual legal definitions within the Clery Act. But you'll also notice that there is a different type of question. You'll see qualifier questions versus self-assessment questions. And really the purpose of each of these, the qualifier ones, are really those yes or no questions. And as difficult sometimes as yes or no questions might be when it comes to Clery Act compliance, these are sort of those isolated, concrete action steps. So do you have a list or map detailing all of your property? Do you have copies of lease agreements? All of these types of questions that really could be answered with a yes, a no, or in some cases, potentially an unsure. The second broad category in the tool is really getting at the heart of evaluating and self-rating your processes. So these are things that you can't necessarily answer with a yes or no, but are still really critical to your compliance processes. And so these are things like your process for defining and reviewing changes to your Clery geography, how well you're maintaining that list or map, right? Not just do you have it, but what is the process for sort of adding and updating that along the way? So this print companion guide, as you can see, lists out all of the questions that you'll see within our brand new online tool. And so if you're looking at the screen now, this is the homepage to our brand new online self-assessment tool. We're very excited about this, as you can probably tell. It's something that I think will be really great to use for members in particular. And there's a lot of features that go beyond the interactive PDF that we had for the first and original version of the tool. So when you get to the welcome page, which is what we're at right here, you'll already notice a couple of different features. There's an explanation, as there is within the print companion guide, of just generally the purpose and the topic areas that are covered within this online tool. So you'll notice that it goes through each of the different sections. There's an entire section, the second to last one, that covers the rights and options for campus victims of sexual assault, dating violence, domestic violence, and stalking. And so these are, for many of you, you're probably thinking VAWA amendments to Clery, and you would be right. They also incorporate the requirements that have existed ever since 1992 with the Campus Sexual Assault Victims Bill of Rights. And so this is a way of really comprehensively addressing all of your awareness and prevention programs, as well as those reporting options and disciplinary procedures. So when you get to the tool, there's a couple of different ways that you can get started. And it's worth noting that this was a tool that we really developed to be a team approach. Much like everything else within the collaborative, we really are always assuming and encouraging a multidisciplinary team approach to really get Clery Act compliance right. And so this is a tool that will require more than one person's participation. It's something that really with each different chapter, each different section is going to hopefully be involving a couple of different people within your campus community who have areas of expertise or who are working within the weeds with these different sections. So just off the top of my head, Daily Crime Log may have a very different set of team members than those that are talking about the awareness and prevention programs that are currently happening on your campus. So just something to consider. We hope that there's a planning process to this ahead of you guys all sitting down and using the tool together, just to make sure the right folks are in the room. So when you hit next, you'll be taken to the first section. You can also access at any time the full list. And this is kind of an overwhelming look, but it really shows you, again, as we mentioned within that print companion guide, you'll notice that there's both qualifier questions and self-assessment questions for each of those sections that are highlighted over here within the main summary. And so at any point, you can start within geography and go really, hierarchically down the entire line. You can start if you have a team that's already ready to go in terms of the VAWA amendments and how that affects crime reporting. You could start within that section. There is the opportunity throughout using this tool to save and continue later. And I think that's really important. As we mentioned, if there's teams involved, we know that scheduling can sometimes be challenging. And so we wanted to create something that really allowed members to take their time throughout the tool, get the right people involved in the conversation, and importantly, have the right documents and resources available as you're going through and answering these different pieces. So we're going to start off today just for instruction purposes, looking at the very first section, which is geography. And you'll notice the first section is always going to be that qualifier question piece. So just as a reminder, those are those questions that are really the basics of Clery compliance for that particular topic. So with geography, as we mentioned before, we're going to look at, do we have a list or map? Yes or no? do we have copies of leases? Maybe I'm not quite sure, so I'll put unsure for that one. And you'll just kind of go through and select each of them. We tried to keep all of the questions and sections relatively concise. For those of you who have been part of the program for a while, our first self-assessment tool was very comprehensive and had a lot of questions per section. So we really tried to make that concise and really get to the heart of each of these sections. So when you're finished completing each of the qualifier questions, you can just click that next piece. You'll also notice, as I mentioned, right below that is that save and continue later function that we talked about. Now at this point, after you've entered in some initial responses, what you'll notice is that there's this save response PDF or Word option right up here. And this is something that when we were thinking about the tool, this was a really great resource that we felt would be helpful for members, in the sense that when you're going through each of these sections and when you get to the end of the digital tool, there's actually an opportunity within this system to save all of your responses and generate a response report. So what this means is that you'll end up being able to summarize, print, share, modify however you'd like the responses that you spent so much time going through and developing as a team. So that's a really important feature of the tool that I wanted to make sure that we highlighted. It's also worth noting that this is a system that is not tracking your IP address. It is completely anonymous. And we didn't do that because we didn't want to know who was taking it, but we did want to do that to give you guys a level of confidence that these responses would truly be used for your internal teams. That it would be something that wouldn't be connected to a particular campus or a particular person on your campus. So I think that that's important to note as well. We also did that so that we could get some of the collective aggregate responses and be able to use that for our own educational purposes and in developing further tools and resources for members. So creating a platform that is really anonymous, it isn't tracking any of the responses and tying it into a particular campus, is also something that allows our member services team to see some of the challenges in an aggregate level that members are noting and identifying, and then hopefully being able to proactively address those within different educational opportunities, resources, and tools like this one. So after I've gone through the qualifier questions, I get to the self-assessment questions. So these are also going to be covering geography. If I were within any other section, it would be covering that same topic that I did with the qualifier questions. And you'll notice that unlike the questions in the qualifier section that say yes, no, or unsure, these ones are a little bit more involved, and you're going to be invited at each self-assessment stage to review and rate the following. And again, these are more of your process-based questions. So not just do you have that list, but what is your process? You're going to evaluate, for example, within the site practice section, what you think your campus's process rates in terms of how it's currently going. So for example, I might say that our process for defining and reviewing, well, it's average. It's so-so. It's not the best thing that we have going on, but it's not in critical need of improvement. You also have the opportunity to type in the either individual role or the department that is responsible for this particular process. Now, we know certainly this isn't something that's siloed, so this would be an area where you would really identify who is taking the lead on this particular process. And then next, you'll look at action steps. So if you've identified something that's average or needs improvement, or if you're a real go-getter and everything that's good, you want it to turn into an excellent, there is an opportunity for you to note any action steps that you need to take in order to get to where you'd like to be as a campus, or to learn more about the particular question. If, for example, you've never considered a process for defining and reviewing changes, you may note that there needs to be some investigation into how to start that, which our team can certainly assist you with. And then finally, this allows you to rate the priority of what that action step is, right? So we all know if we had 1 million hours in the day, that everything could maybe be a high priority, right? But we want to make sure that as we're noting these action steps and the departments that are responsible, that we're also creating a sense of how important or how urgent for our own campus communities these changes are. And so you can assess, perhaps this is really high importance because we've said that this really needs improvement. Our individual who's responsible, I'll just put, maybe Clery coordinator, right? And then the action step is, figure it out. So you'll be able to customize those action steps, prioritize, and then move on to the next piece and continue through. Again, there's usually less than 10 questions per section. So again, you can save and continue and certainly stop midway, but you can also do that section to section as well. So when you go through each of these, what you end up getting a picture of is not only the areas that are challenging to you, right? The action steps that you need, anything that needs improvement, but you're also able to talk about the strengths, right? You're able to highlight really quickly and easily for yourself and for your colleagues, what are some of the areas that we really do well? If, for example, we have an excellent process for reviewing leases and making decisions about what counts within our Clery geography and defining that Clery geography, we might call this excellent, identify who's taking a leadership role, and write that there are no action steps because we're doing such a great job. And so at the end of this process, and through this tool, again, you have an opportunity to summarize all of those responses and to really get a quick look at everything that your campus has identified as strengths, as well as those areas that really need some improvement and the really concrete steps that you plan to take as a campus team in order to make those happen. So I know that's a lot that we just went through. I just wanted to pause in case there were any questions that anyone had. Again, as I said, we're really excited about the potential of this tool, and we think it's the next generation option for helping you all to really tackle what we know is a very complex and ever-changing set of responsibilities and things to think about when it comes to Clery. So we want to make sure that this is helpful for you all as you go through this and do that. So Bethany, I don't know if there's any questions that have come in. And if you do have questions, just as a reminder, there is that questions panel, or you can raise your hand as well, and we can unmute you in case that's easier. All right. Well, I'm going to take that as a sign that everyone is super excited about this. If you do have any questions, as always, please don't hesitate to give either Bethany or I a call. Our contact information is available on our main website. And again, this is really something that we developed for members, and we're really looking forward to the feedback that all of you will hopefully be providing us. If you have any ideas or suggestions, we are completely open and excited to hearing those. As we said before, and we can't say it enough, members have really transformed so many of our benefits and services and made them go from really good to really great. And so we're so excited about the opportunity to continue to improve this tool that can really help us move from a checklist approach to one that is concretely rooted within action. So thank you so much again for your time. If you have any questions, contact us. And we hope and look forward to hearing from each of you as you go through and use the tool for your specific campus.